quickly though, do we want to touch on the disaster, the conspiracy theories, and everything that is currently surrounding the top flight? Do we want to have
Yeah,
a brief conversation
you
about
you
that?
kick it off. You kick it off.
Well, where do
I
we
don't really
even?
frequent myself with
Yeah,
old firm
of
conspiracy
course.
theories. So
I do my best. I know that maybe times on this show I've came on and not done that. I've came on and I've been pretty strong with statements. I came on here and said the league was done. I came on here and said Celtic were miles better than Rangers, blah blah
yeah, you
blah.
ended up being vilified with that. So we'll let you off.
Yeah, look, the fact of the matter is, Celtic, either way, deserve their title this season. Rangers fans, I don't know how much they've got to cry about of us getting their 9-in-a-row title. In the Scottish Championship, there is a 14-point gap between Dundee United and Inverness, and Inverness have a game in hand
Oh, really?
over, yep, 14.
I didn't realise that.
And Dundee United are getting their title. Nothing's been said about it, but apparently now, Celtic, who are 13 points clear in the exact same situation, should not be getting theirs.
Well, it's
When,
not. Who has the game? Do Inverness have a game in hand on Dundee United?
yes, they do.
Right. Okay.
So we are looking at identical situations. A point within, that's the only difference. That there's a point difference between those two situations. But nothing's been said about Dundee United getting given a promotion. Inverness fans aren't crying that they could somehow turn the season around in the remaining games. I have nothing against football fans showing their passion for each team. Look, and in an ideal situation, as every Celtic fan would agree, Celtic do not want to be gifted a title. But if worse comes to worse, you cannot null and void a season where we are that far ahead. We should be champions. We should be getting our title. I would love to play it out, and I hope we do get a situation where we do get to play it out somehow. It doesn't look like it'll be likely, but hopefully so. The talk of conspiracies towards Celtic and corruption and Peter Law having the SPFL in his pocket is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely
Well,
ridiculous.
let's just. I want to make one point really quickly.
On you go.
If you're, there's no way you can sit here and tell me that Peter Lawwell wasn't going around the clubs, try to have a word with them. Every single manager would have been doing that. Anne Budge would have been going around the
But
clubs.
that,
Jerry
that,
Britton
yeah,
from
yeah,
Patrick
yeah.
Thistle would have been going around the
I'm
clubs.
not denying that. Look, Celtic have handled their as I'll quote a great man, Tony Watt, who said on Twitter today, the clubs who have the most to lose have been the quietest during all of this.
How do you mean?
Well,
I saw that tweet as well. I didn't really understand it.
Well,
Do
put it
Hearts
this
not have
way:
the most to lose?
a club like Celtic, who had the chance to go on and win a quadruple treble this season, convincingly win 9-in-a-row, don't have an asterisk beside the title, have stayed quiet through it all. What have Rangers got to lose? What have Rangers generally got to lose this season? If anything, the season ending now for Rangers is better off than what it would be with them waiting, because they need the financial support right now. They need the money. There is no denying that. So
Yeah,
Rangers, who have
I'm not
literally
sure
nothing
if you
to
could
lose.
say that Celtic have more to lose than Hearts do, though.
Well, I suppose because Hearts could go down. But there's been a lot of teams who are sitting quiet. There's teams who are sitting battling to try and be in the top half this season, make a name for themselves. They've not kicked up a
Yeah,
fuss.
but I think that's ultimately. I think you think of teams like St Johnstone. I think are the perfect example. I'm not sure how it works with them. Are St Johnstone, did they make top six with this, or how is it going to work? It was very nip and tuck between them and Hibs anyway. So teams like Aberdeen as well, who were still fighting for third.
Yep.
Yes, they're still fighting for stuff, but I think there was a little bit of. There had to be for me for some clubs a
Look
little
at
bit of.
Motherwell, for example.
Our situations aren't that important.
Motherwell, who are battling for third alongside Aberdeen, a team like Livy fighting for the top half, Hibs and St Johnstone within a point of each other. The first, I guess Hearts have a genuine reason to kick up quite the fuss, because yes, they have 8 games to try and save themselves and get out of the relegation zone when they could be just put down when they are one of the biggest clubs in the country. But genuinely, I don't understand this mindset from the Rangers support. And this isn't me taking a dig at Rangers support.
Yes, it is.
Well, it is. But, well, I just don't understand, because the season finishes right now, or with 38 games played, and nothing changes for Rangers. They don't get a Scottish Cup because they're out. They don't finish first because they can't. They literally will not happen. Unless they turn into the Govan Globetrotters, it's not going to happen. I don't see any way out. Look, the SPFL have handled this horrendously. We've been over that, right? We've talked about it. And I understand the Rangers fans' frustrations and their doubt towards the SPFL towards it, right? But with 81% of the clubs backing this proposal, and this is even, it was close to 81 without Dundee as well.
Yeah.
it was backed by the rest of the country. How is there a corruption towards Celtic? It's not a popular decision. I understand that. This was a scenario that none of us would have wanted, and we couldn't even dream in a million years of happening. But what was the alternative? If Rangers were wanting the money, which they've spoke about a couple of times, right? And as there's clubs risking going into administration, it's extremely harsh on some clubs like Partick Thistle. I get that. I really do understand that. This is it's a horrible scenario. But if there was a risk of teams around the country going into administration, the SPFL's options were limited, and you've already touched on that yourself. It's not simple. There was no simple option. It is difficult, but what baffles me is the cries of, look, Peter Law is controlling everything. Look, we're 13 points clear. The title was always going to be Celtic's.
Yeah, I agree with the fact that Rangers, perhaps moaning about the title being awarded is a bit out there, because it was going to be a far stretch of the imagination to imagine Rangers would come back and win the title, which was a very out there thought. Mm-hmm. However, I can understand why some of them would be so desperate to take the SPFL to task over this, because I think that needs to happen. I also said last week I don't think that you should. I don't really agree with fundamentally handing league titles out to teams, but this is an unprecedented situation and we don't really have an awful lot of alternative. It's a tough one. I do think that if it was the other way around, though, I do think if Rangers had been handed this title,
put the shoe in the other foot, and there would be a cry as well from Celtic supporters.
Yeah,
there's no doubt. You can't, with Old Firm fans, the situation is always point scoring, greeting, and I'm one of them. There's no denying that. In this situation, if it was in the other foot, I would love to sit down and say, look, Rangers are 13 clear, give them their title, because I think that would be fair. But obviously, if I put myself in that situation,
you never would.
It's probably, realistically, can I say that would happen? I don't know, but it's so difficult, because this is a team who have worked so hard. Neil Lennon has. Obviously, you've seen the work that's went in from Neil Lennon, a guy who was doubted so much, and to have his title torn from him after a majority of the season being played and being 13 points clear would be... I don't know about you, David. From a neutral point of view, I don't know what you would think is more fair, but for me, I think it would be more cruel to null and void a season for Celtic in that situation than gift Celtic a title for a team like Rangers in their situation.
Well, I don't think null and void was really an option at all. I think both of them situations would have been slightly unfair, but I think we all maintained from the start that no matter what happens, we need to have a finish to this season. I still think, I know the TV deal is going to make that difficult, but I don't think you could have just cancelled everything that's happened so far. The null and void argument for me was just never viable. Yep. I mean, to say that everything we've seen since last August didn't happen. Yeah. That's not how football works. It did happen. We were all there.
Because then what happens with a situation and say the League Cup? Does Celtic just get the League Cup taken from them? Because that
exactly.
I know that's not an SPFL competition.
Well, I'd argue that Celtic winning that League Cup final was more of a robbery than them being handing the league title.
There you go. Spot on. Look, sometimes things like a club like Falkirk has reluctantly accepted. They use the words reluctantly accept the SPFL vote. Look, if they can take it in that situation, Rangers fans should be pulling up their pants and taking it here, because they will never...
It's all to do with the pressure of 9 in a row, though, and 10 in a row. That's what's... It's a unique pressure.
If they're that desperate to end it, their team, their players, their manager, their everything should be going out and doing it. They shouldn't be relying on the board deciding who gets the title and who doesn't. If they're that big a team and they're that good, then next season prove it on the Park, Rangers. That's all you have to do.